I hit the live button, so we are now live. Trademarking's a bitch.
A good name is hard to come by, and if you find it, it's probably taken. So, give everyone a fair shot here.
All right. I am gonna see if people are gonna show up. Usually takes a minute or two for people to show up, but also it is a Friday in the middle of the day, and
yeah, everyone's in traffic.
Yeah.
Stream this on your like TV that you have in your modern car.
Or people now have, or people actually have social lives and they aren't at home watching
Yeah, it's
YouTube.
like a beach day, you know. Here we are.
But yeah, this will have this will save as a VOD. But cool. People are like, oh, maybe I'll have to edit this down. But
yeah, that'd probably be helpful.
okay. I'm just knocking your coffees over.
That works.
Let me get my phone. We're gonna start in a little.
Is that good? That way you have some space back.
Yes. I think our audio is working. Sweet. Okay, audio is working. All right.
Check. 1, 2.
This is more for the VOD, for people to tune in later and watch it.
Yeah,
but
thanks for watching.
Yep, but we're live now. What we're gonna do today is we're gonna compare these three grinders here. This is more of like a brewing and cupping comparison. So this is more of like evaluating what are the differences between flavors of an Ode with SSP MP burrs in it, DF83V with the brew burrs in it, and then finally the Optional 01. This is the 102 Mizen. So we have a very different presentation of burrs, at least in my opinion. And I'm gonna have Prestin here, Flower Child Coffee, to do some of the tasting. He's never used 01 before, so it'll be very interesting to hear those opinions on 01. But he has been cupping with these two grinders in the past few week or two. So we have
several cuppings.
Yeah, so we're kind of gonna go from there. But feel free to tune in and write anything in the chat, and we'll answer questions. But I am streaming about SSP MPs. So my chat knows I dislike SSP MPs. I'm a mad hater, but maybe this will change my mind. And I'll find out that they're much better than everything else.
Well, we've got good coffee. So it's all the same coffee. We're actually going to brew some of the last of Juan Peña's Mejorado. And I think I chose this coffee just because it's like very clearly enunciated. Even if you have a grinder with a lot of fines, even if you're using a blade grinder and chopping it up, you're gonna get a lot of clarity from what that coffee's like. And the Mejorado is just like so easily identifiable. So it'll be interesting to see how the coffee feels and brews given the different types of burrs here. So we have MPs, SSP MPs, we have the DLCs.
Yep.
Really, really unique. Just the clarities and the consistency is insane. And then I have never used these, which you know more about these burrs.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to get somebody's first impressions on, this, which is arguably one of the most expensive grinders right now. In terms of price point comparisons, this guy is about $500 with MPs in it. This guy is about $700, $800, and then this is around upwards of $25,000 to $3,000. So these are the different classes of grinders we have today, all the way up to like Titan class. This is also the largest burr set you can easily buy from a consumer grinder, 102 blind. So
big.
Yeah, this is also a huge grinder.
You can't really tell.
Yeah, it's hard to tell from certain angles. But I've been dailying. Yeah, look at how big that is.
This is bigger than my head.
Yeah, so I've been dailying the O1 for a while. I use the O1 mainly day to day. It's my daily driver because I think it just gives me the most. It's just the easiest grinder to use out of all the grinders I have. It has the ionizer, it's got auto purge, you just throw the coffee in, and most of the time it works out great. So it'll be interesting to see what Preston thinks about it, because you're very familiar with your coffees, and what we just want to see, like, is it any good, right?
Yeah, right? What's the difference too, When cupping, I always purge between cups.
I think you guys can hear it, but MPs definitely have that characteristic screechiness, squeal to it. So
You can definitely
yeah,
hear the
you definitely can hear it. So that's what MPs sound like. DF83V is insanely quiet grinder. It is on right now.
Sorry, the kettle's
Yeah, the
much
kettle's
louder.
probably louder than this. It does get really screechy as you start grinding coffee because the brew burrs, as we showed in a stream a very long time ago, are very aggressive. Like the cuts are insanely aggressive. So it does get a lot louder when you are grinding, but these two grinders, you don't have to RDT with them. There's the ionizer, it's really, really clean. But yeah, once you start grinding, it is on the louder side.
It's still not bad.
It's also faster too, because the burrs are literally bigger. I think you're grinding at 500 RPM?
That's correct.
Okay, so we're grinding 500 RPM on DF83V. I think it's still on. Oh yeah, it is still on. Yeah, see, it's like you just forget sometimes it's on because it's so quiet. And then this is the O1, so just do that one. Yeah. And we're running it at 1 RPM, so that's the lowest RPM. It is definitely...
What's the range of RPM?
It's like 1 to 9, but I don't know what the
actual...
Yeah, I think it's like 200 to 1600 or something.
Oh, wow.
If I remember correctly. I have to look at
it. Okay, excellent.
Yeah, so so the O1 is probably somewhere in between. When it's grinding, it's probably somewhere in between loudness of MPs and DF83V. I think DF83V is the quietest.
It's definitely the quietest here.
Out of all of these. But yeah, from a size comparison, you can definitely tell the O1 is big.
Yeah, you got the smallest footprint here. All right, and we have boiling water.
Yeah. So we're gonna go ahead and I just zoomed in on I zoomed in on this here. So
cool.
We're gonna begin. We're just gonna cup, and we're gonna see what the flavor differences are between all these 3 burr sets. A big reason why we decided to do this comparison is I think these 3 represent. There's just people outside. I don't know if you guys hear this. I think these 3 really represent a lot of. I think like if you were looking at things maybe from a cupping perspective, and using some of these grinders in a professional context, I think these 3 represent some really great choices. I do want to mention, I do see people in the chat here like, oh, how come you didn't bring the Cafetech? I think Cafetech is not necessarily the best for cupping right now, at least the burr sets. I think from a brewing perspective is a lot different, but
why is that?
The reason why is because I think the presentation is very, very colored.
Okay.
I think O1 does have some coloring. There's a distinctive style, but it's more of like shifting up a lot of acidity, and there's like a lot of coloring that you taste from the Max. I think it makes things enjoyable, but if you're a roaster like Preston here, you want some higher clarity stuff.
That is true. Yeah, and with the clarity with this has been difficult. It's still, very good. I can definitely pick up the information that I need to on how the roast is tasting, and the effect of the roast on the coffee and what the coffee is like if I'm sample cupping. So it's been a great piece of equipment, especially starting out from zero. And this has just been an altogether different experience. So I'm very curious to see how these are together.
Yeah. Somebody asked about what is 078. I don't have the 078 with. Okay, so I don't own every single grinder in the world. This is what I actually own these. This is not my SSP, my Ode, but I do own one with MPs in it. So this is like what I have, and I think this will give you guys a good idea from price point perspectives. Like as you go up the chain, what is different? Because even without spoiling too much, and we're going to get into it when we taste, even when you go from something like Ode SSP MP to this, there is a jump in terms of flavor perception. What we want to talk about mostly today is like, what are these differences in maybe the burr sets, as well as, this is for fun, right? This is like, if you want first impressions, this is a guy, he literally has never tasted coffee off of this grinder. So
I'm pretty stoked.
Yeah, but I use this all the time, so I'm like, ooh, I need some validation as to why I purchased this.
Right on. What do we got? We ready to break?
Yeah.
Close. Yeah, and we'll brew a cup with this one too, because I think I just want to try.
Is there any pour over flat burr that comes calibrated from the factory? Yeah, so 01, Cafetech stuff, EG1, all of those are at the $2,000 plus price point. There is definitely a lot of effort that goes into calibrating. So when you buy these grinders out of the box, they work fantastic. 01 or Zerno. It depends on what you're going for. Zerno is 64 millimeter. So this will be an interesting comparison too, where we have 64, 83, and 102. It's like, can you taste the differences? Obviously the geometries and the styles are different, but it's like, if you were to own one, right? All these grinders represent like incredibly easy grinders to use. Ionizer, quiet, flat burr, knocker, variable RPM. Well, this one doesn't have variable RPM, but outside of this, we can also evaluate like, what is it like to use these grinders? So far, these are all incredibly easy grinders to use, and there are different burr sets coming out for this one, and there are different burr sets already with this one. But just to recap, we have 64 MPs in here. We have the brew burrs, which are about $80. So $250 burrs, $80 burrs. And this here, I think you can't even buy these burrs, but they're probably like 400 or 500, because the 102, they're going to come out with 102 HUs. They're probably going to be like $500 because,
Are these prototypes or something?
No. So this is 102 blind Mizen. Option O. Option O designed the burrs.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
So these are option O burrs.
Yeah, option O burrs. But yeah, I'm going to moderate the chat. P64 or Zerno. So here's the thing. We're gonna let Prestin cup too. P64 or Zerno, like those are both really good. The advantage of the Zerno is you can get blind in 64 millimeter. You can get 64 millimeter SSP blind, but does that matter? I don't know entirely yet. And is that something to give up over RPM? That's also another great question. But I think the Zerno is a really great grinder. I also, like, you can't go wrong. At this price point, at the $1,500 price point, you cannot really go wrong with any purchase, in my opinion. You're also getting all the legit manufacturers as well. So if anything breaks with your grinder, you have your Akaya Orbit, you have Zerno, you have Option O. If anything goes wrong, you can 100%, you have that customer service.
Yeah, so I mean, when buying a grinder, even like considering customer service based on what you're getting, because a lot of people are saying that I respect and have tasted through a lot of grinders, and I have not yet. A lot of these are comparable, right? But maybe that deciding factor is customer service, which for me is a huge deal. Yeah.
The funny thing, when you reach to this price point, What I actually honestly think you're getting, or the differences are, is like, who do you want to have a relationship with? From a grinder manufacturer perspective,
Right.
you want to deal with Option O, you want to deal with Weber, you want to deal with Cafetech, you want to deal, with all of those guys. Like, what are the pros and cons of boutique manufacturers essentially, and who do you feel the most comfortable dealing with? I also think where you live in the world is a big factor, right?
Yeah.
We live in the States here. We're in the United States, so. A big reason why I like Cafetech is, well, I know the guys in Seattle, so if anything happens to my grinder, I can send it back to Seattle. Although, people make the argument, oh, but for $3 to $4 grand, you shouldn't have a grinder that ever needs to be serviced. But you never know, right? Whereas, like, Option O, these guys are not in the States. If something goes wrong with this, then I have to deal with that, and that's a lot more loopholes. Although Option O has done a great job with anybody who has had problems with their grinders. Yeah, so they do a really great job dealing with that. Grinders like this is a complicated one to talk about at times, because this is you can find this grinder rebranded as, from a bunch of different people. So people import these from China. They then rebrand it. Sometimes they work closer with the OEM manufacturer. So you find this like Turin, you find Me Coffee, you find DF Coffee. And nowadays, I think the support on this grinder has gone really good, at least for those of us in the States, because of companies like Espresso Outlet. So, if anything breaks, you deal with a wholesaler. You deal with Espresso Outlet. So if this guy breaks, I send it to Espresso Outlet, gets taken care of. Or if it breaks, I send it to Me Coffee. Right. But I think right now, from a quality perspective, this has gotten so good. Like, the build of this.
The build is fantastic.
It's crazy good.
The workflow is good. It's just a wonderful grinder.
It's a great grinder.
Yeah. The burrs, I'm not so sure about.
Yeah, the burrs, but the burrs are $80. Yeah. So that's the interesting thing. So this, I think the reason to go with these Chinese grinders, although you could argue like these are all technically Chinese grinders, the reason I had to go with this is because it is the maximum performance you can get per dollar.
For the dollar,
literally for the dollar,
it's outstanding.
It's insane.
Yeah.
A big reason why we'd go with the Ode is obviously the cheapest out of all of these, and it punches way above its weight. For $300 to get the carrier, and you get the Gen 2 burrs. Obviously, you spend $250. You put SSP in it is a little bit more expensive, but you also get a legit company, right? Yeah. If something breaks with this, I know fellows got my back.
Yeah. You've got like best bang for your buck. Yeah. Contenders right here.
And then this, if you want to go up here, is more performance. This is just this is a quote unquote end game grinder, as we'd call it. But yeah, we want to talk more about brewing. Today is filter brewing. Obviously, like you can't even do espresso.
Let's brew it.
Sure. Let's brew.
Should I use V60 filters?
Go for it.
Is that what you use?
I use. Why don't you use the?
I have T92s that I usually use.
You should use T92s.
Okay, so we would go probably coarser than you usually.
Yeah, you can brew with T92s. So Prestin brews with T92s. I brew with T90s because I'm a fast boy.
The T90s have a flavor impartation, I feel, but we'll have to do a tasting on another video about that. Because I think so. You're on the T90s, so then we'll probably go slightly coarser, right?
Yeah.
You're on 5.2.
Yeah, just try it out. So
let's try it out.
Yeah, you've never this will be the first brew we ever do on Preston ever do on the 01. But yeah, there's definitely what we're kind of evaluating today is kind of like a mix of if you were to use this in your home, but also if you were to say want to pursue some of this stuff from a professional perspective, like if you were doing QC, if you had a roastery, or because the nice thing about the higher end grinders like 01, EG1, Cafetech, Monolith stuff is they kind of blur the lines between like, is this a pro grinder or is this a home use grinder? Right. You find shops using this already. Like there are shops who use this. Shops use EG1. Shop use Monolith. Yeah. So the reliability, in my opinion, is there for this grinder. I wouldn't use these at all in the shop.
Yeah.
Personally.
I mean, I haven't seen or had great results, but they are an option if you're tight on funds, which someone like me is, and still saving for something like an end game grinder. Obviously, I'm looking for something that's going to help me build my green buying program with much more ease and clarity, so that when I am curating coffees for the subscription or for whatever I'm doing, it's just very, very clean and clear representation of each coffee. I'm getting we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we can talk about flavors. Yeah.
But I'm getting very different things from these grinders, and at times it alters my, there's cup variants with green lots, but it's definitely altering the cup profile overall, which could lead me to think differently about the coffee, which is interesting to think about with a grinder,
Yeah, like it influences maybe even the flavor notes you write, right?
Exactly.
Like a lot of people buying coffee, right?
Yeah.
Like if you suddenly are able to taste more of something, you might write some different flavor notes.
Right.
So it'll be interesting. I know you guys are always interested in that type of stuff, so we're gonna show it off. But why don't we brew some coffee and go from there? Gotta keep walking.
Oh, I didn't already see. There we go. Hello. Brewing some coffee.
Is Versa Lab still around? Yeah, they are.
It's still not very loud.
Yeah, but you can also, if you're running at the lowest, what you can do is you can actually just up the RPM a little, and it sometimes does help the feed, but you're running it at like 2 or 3, so it's already good. Oh yeah, and then you are also, and then when you finish grinding, then you do the knock. Yeah.
Thank you.
But you can definitely manipulate a lot of flavors with RPM variances.
Wow. It's different.
Ooh. What's interesting too is visually the number of fines. There's water in there.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, yeah. You don't want to burn water. We don't want to waste
I appreciate
the beautiful coffee.
I was zoning out on the grind size, yeah.
Yeah,
the particle variation there is much more than what I've noticed from here.
Yeah, so I think like visually this actually does have the DF83V does have the cleanest looking grounds. And we don't have a particle analyzer here right now.
Which I wish,
but
maybe we'll do that.
Eventually we'll get one.
Yeah.
As they've become much more accessible. Your kettle's here, so I'll walk out of the way so you can brew.
Oh, you're good.
What are we brewing right now?
Juan Peña Mejorado. So we've got a Mejorado, same coffee. Sold out. There'll be 2 bags at Coro this next week, but was such a beautiful coffee. I thought it would be a good coffee for this demonstration, just because that coffee is so apparent in its profile when it comes to the florality and berry sweetness. So you can pick it up with any grinder anywhere and know that that's a berry forward coffee with botanical qualities, but I feel like it's going to present very differently, So yeah. Thanks for asking.
Oh, did you pick that coffee up?
Flower Child.
Flower Child? I don't know, someone says, I love that coffee.
Yes.
So complex.
Juan Peña.
How long will the fellow Ode Gen 2 last before the motor burns up? I haven't had any experiences with any failure on Ode, and I have abused the hell out of my Odes.
Same. It has, it'll tell you when it's getting hot, and you won't be able to use it unless you unplug it and plug it back in.
Yeah, I mean, I've seasoned a lot. Auger feeding, I do not have much opinion on that. So that has an auger in it. Both of those grinders have augers in it. I don't have too big of a complaint. I still think the things that matter the most are the burrs. But generally speaking, a lot of the grinders that do have augers, you end up with really great burr sets. So that's also the kind of thing that happens with that. Did you have this coffee back in February? The Juan Peña?
I think I released it in February.
Okay, yeah. So someone had this coffee in February.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, we should have brewed some Serbia. I just thought this was such a nice coffee to have.
That is the fellow
Carafe.
carafe,
The double wall.
Yeah, double wall, not the Evoke pitcher. If
These
you were
are-
curious.
All
All right, oh, I'm ready to brew.
Let's do it. Quick pass.
You're gonna start cupping. How do you brew your own coffees?
How do I brew my own coffees?
Yeah.
I'm using T92s. I also have V60 filters here, and I pretty much solely use V60s. I was on a Kalita kick, which is also a great thing. Just any brew method with every grinder takes me a long time to kind of dial in. So I've been on the V60 kick and then kind of changing things up method-wise with the V60. I think it's just it's very effective if you're doing low dose or high dose brews. It generally extracts more than less, and I feel like you get more of a holistic view on the profile of each coffee that you're brewing. So I've been coming back to the V60, so that's been details generally 1 to 18 with boiling water. So I'll bloom just off boil not to introduce water with to the hydrostatic. So we could do it right now. I'm going to pre-wet 2 to 3 times the dose weight. On a V62 cup, high dose would be 21 grams. I'm doing a 20-gram bloom here.
To move you guys.
I'm going to stir just to make sure the water's in contact with all of the grounds here. This is the most effective part of your brew stage here. So you want to make sure that your pre-wet or your bloom, or whatever you call it, that first introduction is fully saturating the grounds. You get the most out of your brew if you can give yourself, especially with light roast, a long rest time, right? So,
Yeah.
Is that your experience?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I love the 1 minute long blooms.
Yeah.
I find that impacts the cup the most.
Yeah.
Especially with the agitation. I mean, you're
Right.
wet WDTing. Yeah. You got the chopstick.
Yeah.
Uh,
I don't know if that
it does do
effective.
stuff.
Yeah.
It does work.
It definitely works. Yeah.
But this is definitely. I mean, you usually brew with mellow drip too.
Yeah, so with the DF83, I have done away with mellow drip and actually just broke mine, which is
okay.
so sad. Yeah, I need to get another one.
But that's because you used to be after a lot of fines manipulation, like
Yes.
manipulating the fines that you would get out of MPs.
Right.
But now you don't need to with DF83V.
Right.
Because the fines are so little.
Right. So yeah, that was an adjustment based off of the fines. Using the mellow drip really helped clean up the cup. Less agitation throughout the brew. Really let that coffee bed be the filter itself. Here, I mean, the consistency is crazy. I thought I wanted that for so long, and now, drinking the coffee, it's almost got a lack of body. It's not like I'm
too clean.
Telling you, yeah, it's hollowed out almost. So I have done away with the mellow drip with the Turin and have gone just free pour here. So we're gonna do it here as well, just as a matter of comparison.
Yeah, but you also are brewing a lot of your coffees to 5 to 8 minute long brew time. You don't even care about brew time.
Yeah, I like contact time. So I'll tell people, if you can get it, 4 minutes plus with flower child coffee or any other, high-end light roaster, I think you're gonna have more success with tasting what that coffee is like. I mean,
Yeah.
your extraction's gonna go up, so those things are correlated.
Okay, what do people say? Is the O1 your favorite all-around grinder? My still my personal favorite is the Monolith Flat Max. I think that's my favorite grinder. I just don't use it as much, and I use the O1 a lot more because
Fuck. Excuse my English.
it's okay. You guys didn't see that. This would not be a live stream if it was too perfect, right? It should taste fine.
Yeah,
That's like, yeah.
It's honestly not.
I like your coffee's lower ratio too. I like your coffee's 1:17.
Yeah, I like them at 1:17 too. Like people keep asking, how do you brew? And however you find you like
Yeah.
it. Because okay, you've got a different grinder. You may even have a even terrible grinder. You might have rocks to grind your coffee. You're gonna figure out how it works best, right?
Yeah.
And I like a 1:17 too. I think it works out really well. I've just ended up liking having more space in the information and the solubles. So
Yeah. The thing that I found is, I can actually get into the camera too. I can be on camera, guys. One thing that I found that I did want to mention is, as you go up the price point, what I have found is the ability to go even longer in terms of ratio, like push coffees out even further without things falling apart. So if you've ever tried to take like a small conical burr hand grinder, like a 48 mil, and you try to brew it to 1:20 ratio, I suggest you try doing this. You will find two things. You'll find a lot of coffees can't handle, a lot of roast styles literally cannot handle such high ratio. And then two, a lot of burst sets start to introduce a lot of like muddiness. It's like, oh, things just taste literally rough on your tongue. I find with 64, with the only exception in the hand grinder space being the ZP6, these guys here allow you to start really pushing ratio, really pushing extraction without introducing off flavors. Personally speaking, I don't like ultra highly extracted. I like high extraction, but I don't like high extraction long ratio coffee.
Okay.
I think 1:20 is a little too thin. Not a lot of coffees can handle it. 1:18, what I found is like 01 lets me unlock some of the higher ratios.
Yeah.
Like these guys, SSP MPs, I probably would only brew them up to like 1:18, but I could push further with even this definitely, a lot of the 98 flats, 98 SSPs, I can push those coffees out to that. Now the real question is like, is that enjoyable to taste? That's like a whole entire other conversation.
Right.
But it's like you can do that, and that is what you also are paying for when you drop $3,000 on a grinder, is that flexibility of dial space. Like the dial space is insane with these grinders here, and it should be, right? When you, in my opinion at least, is like if I'm dropping $2,000 to $5,000 on a grinder, my average cup must be better. My lows must be higher, right?
Right.
Your lows on this are probably better than the lows on this,
Right.
and that's like a big thing. Obviously, outside of additional flavor performance in terms of flavor and whatnot. So that's like one thing I wanted to mention.
Well, going through these cups here, so we have,
Oh yeah. What are you tasting?
yeah, and your spoons here.
Oh yeah, I will. I should taste them. I've been entertaining. Yeah, I probably wouldn't do a 1:20 on your X Ultra. It might not taste the best. SSP Cast V3s, maybe. Please continue. Okay, maybe I'll do another stream on O1 versus Monolith. But I've talked about O1 and Monolith all the time. I have both of those grinders next to each other because I think they pair incredibly well in both filter and espresso. But let me give this guy a real quick taste.
Give it a look.
Let's taste some of these.
So there's generally a pretty big difference here between the Ode 2 and the DF83.
Oh yeah, big difference between these two.
And I just eyeballed the particle size, but it's pretty consistent as far as the size. So you're getting something maybe a little bit thicker in body here. You're getting more fines in general, and you're getting more of a spectrum of what that coffee's like on the low ends. And this, I would say, my experience is it's almost hollowed out, or it's thinner in flavor. So the information is just much more faint. And I'm on a 15 here, so I keep going finer and finer as I'm cupping. But this is giving me the information, that I'm looking for in, this coffee. I get the berry notes and the florality and the structure, but it's very faint comparative. I don't know.
It's like,
how do you describe that?
The way,
it's thin,
Yeah, like the flavor notes are not as loud in here. They're not as expressive.
Yeah.
I can detect, but I can only really detect one thing happening. I can detect like one initial presentation of acidity.
Right.
But this to me has a cleaner presentation than this here.
Yeah, much cleaner on the DF83, but this is giving you more of a spectrum on the coffee, and I'd say this is somewhat in between.
Yes. So
which is interesting.
So let me taste this some more.
Yeah.
So we're going to tell you guys about what these all taste like. So actually, what do you think about the clarity between all of these? Like which do you think has the highest clarity?
Again, I told you I wanted the most consistent grind, particles, and the clarity is here. But the overall presentation is lacking.
Yeah.
So there's clarity, but you want mouthfeel in a coffee, and I think fines in some aspect add to that. I just don't get it on the turn. So this one here is sitting at a happy medium.
Yeah. So I might be biased here, but
This is a 1, 2, 3 comparison, but you could easily say that this is...
I like this one the most.
This is giving me all of the qualities of the coffee that I can easily recognize that this is Juan Peña's Mejorado. When I taste this, I don't know if I would be able to tell you what coffee this is. It's good.
Like
the
these are
acidity
good.
hits way differently, almost latent, but singular.
There's a lack of dynamics in this.
Yeah.
So you get stuff at the front, but a lot of stuff at the end, in the mid palate, the end, it's just it's all kind of gone.
Yeah.
I do think though this is I think for some people, like if this is your first brew burr ever, then this is very interesting to look at because this is quite different than any flavor presentation from most grinders. I am a personal SSP MP hater. There is something at the end of here that I'm just not liking.
Yeah.
Like the dynamics, more dynamic than this. There's a more interesting cup to taste, 100% more interesting.
Right.
But at the end, that's what I'm like, there's like a little bit of roughness to it. At least compared to this. Obviously 10x price difference, or 4 to 5x price difference.
Yeah.
But this has some coloring to it. So
It
this
does.
is what I'm trying to talk about.
Yeah,
I was talking to you a
yeah.
bit earlier. I was like,
I see what you
A little
mean.
bit of coloring.
Yeah.
There's style.
Yeah. It definitely does have like a tint to it. That's generally what I say when you say coloring.
Yeah.
It definitely has a tinted attribute, right? So it's a nice clarity though. It's clean. The mouth feels clean, but it does kind of give it like a softness to the body, and it's generally very pillowy. Overall.
So what they were going for is actually a very balanced and sweet cup.
Yeah.
So their idea was like, let's do something that works for a lot of coffees, a lot of brewing styles, and I think that's exactly what we're getting here. The interesting thing though is maybe because it's 102 and it's larger, I think the acidity presentation is maybe even more than these two. But it is not presented in a boring way, and it's not presented in a potentially like painful way. Like MPs to me, at least from a brewing perspective, they are a little finicky to dial in. This is what, as you spend more money, that is your average should go up. Your hit rate, especially if you're brewing at home, should go up. But I could see, like, if I was writing flavor notes, that versus these two, I would write very different flavor notes.
Very, very different coffees. I mean, it would be cool to have this as, with different burrs on it.
Yeah, like the grinder is good, but obviously we're comparing kind of a bit of both, like grinder and also burr style. But yeah.
But yeah, this is a very balanced cup. I mean, this is like it's just nice to know if you have the money and it's available to you. This is it worth it? I'm not so sure. But it's very good. It's very good.
Yeah, what I'm finding out, and what we're going to taste some brewed coffee, and we'll look at the chat in a little. What I'm finding out is, obviously we only done one cup. We've done this here. There is a bit of calibration that you need to do at your own home, which is you need to live with the grinder. You need to use it every single day. When I got the O1 in, my initial reaction to O1. You guys can see this. There was a live stream that I did. My initial reaction to O1 was, this is very boring. The presentation is actually quite boring. I thought it was lame, at least in comparison to something like the Cafetech or some of the other 98 SSPs. But as I started to use it, I basically forced myself to use it every single day.
Yeah.
I really appreciated the flavors. And then I switched back to Cafetech. And I was like, oh, they're actually, I was able to kind of discern the differences a lot better. Right, because it takes time for you to adjust.
Yeah.
So, let me catch up on the chat. We just wanted to discuss the flavor differences.
I mean, all good.
No, they're all good. They're all good.
All good, but this is definitely giving me like a very balanced picture of this coffee.
How big would you say the difference in clearness is between the Ode 64 and, say, regular 48 mil hand grinder or even ZP6? I think ZP6 would give you the cleanest cup out of all of those three.
Better,
probably the most consistent. But depending on which 64 millimeter SSP you have, or if you do SSP, you'll probably have most dynamics. The reason the Flatmax isn't in this comparison is because it's sitting atop a castle balcony looking down on the peasant grinders below. That is so true. The burrs in here are the $80 DLC Brew burrs in the DF83V. I think the Ode definitely has more dynamics than DF83V Brew. Does Sculptor 078 taste similar to the DF83V? Sculptor has that back end that we're missing in the DF83V 78, in my opinion.
Oh, interesting.
Why does it seem the Central and South American coffee producers are doing more interesting processing methods than others? That's a coffee question.
Hey, an industry question. There are a lot of reasons, but the ability to own the economic reasons are a main part of this, traditional reasons too, but the ability to own a farm or operate a mill or to be a part of a group of, a neighborhood basically to work on progressing your farm project is just much more viable in Latin America. So let's be real, farming even here in the U.S. is like hard. It's hard economically, and it's going to keep getting harder, especially as we keep treating it like a commodity product, right? But in Latin America, they're working on fetching the highest price they can for their work, right? This is a business for them. Most farmers you meet are more interested in turning a profit than they are, or it should be, I think, they have to support their families and also keep farm operations going, right? So processing change-ups are easier to do. There are a lot of rules in countries like Ethiopia and Kenya and Burundi that basically forbid you by law in doing so. Places like Ecuador and Colombia, you can do those things at freely if you've got a buyer, right? So that's a long answer, but you have more freedoms.
Okay, to tap into the processing.
You have more, yeah, you have more personal and economic business freedoms in Latin America. But they're also just trying really hard to, progress with the market and elevate the product, right?
All right. Okay. DLC 64. Oh my god. Okay, we're getting like burr questions. This is
Okay,
well, obviously it's a grinder.
I am
it's a grinder
curious
stream.
about if we were to change the burrs, what I mean.
SSPs are in 83. So I haven't tasted 83 mil SSPs, but
Yeah.
I've heard they're really good in there.
I think that's probably where I would go with this.
The 01 is very interesting in espresso. If you want to look at the stream that I did, I always talk about this on a lot of the streams. 01 espresso is quite weird. It's I'm gonna let Prestin borrow this grinder for a bit of time, but it's like if you get a chance to pull espresso, I'm super curious what you think.
Yeah.
It does not present like this at all. Right now, you're getting a very balanced cup. If you do espresso,
How's extraction for espresso?
It's high. I mean, this is the one thing that I've found out, at least among the grinders I own, this is the one grinder I can do 1 to 5 plus ratios,
Right on.
and it tastes fine. I find with the Cafetech stuff, it kind of maxes out around like 1 to 3.5 ratio. This thing I can do like 1 to 7s, 1 to 8s.
Beautiful.
And
Wow.
and it'll.
And you're just like making micro adjustments.
Yeah,
on
you just
this.
keep grinding finer. Yeah.
It's just like you would probably be just notch to notch, like finding your sweet spot down here. Huh?
Yeah, but then it's like you could always just up the RPM if you needed to build more pressure, because that's the type of thing.
Smarty pants.
Yeah, or you feed the coffee slower or faster. There's like all these different things you could do now. But a real quick note on espresso with the 01 is the flavor profile I found with espresso is it is basically a polar opposite of the Cafetech presentation. Cafetech presentation is very upfront, punch you in the face with acidity. 01, it's flipped. So instead of it being on the front of your palate, it's actually really far in the back.
Yeah.
And then it's retronasal. And that was the one thing where when I owned this grinder for the first month, I did a lot of espresso. Maybe I was coping because the filter, I was like, oh, the filter's so like, the profile is very safe. Like this is a very safe flavor profile.
Yeah.
In the even tasting this, I'm like, this is, balanced, sweet, crowd pleaser. It's like, a good wash coffee. Like it just emphasizes that type of thing. Oh, this is very pleasant. In espresso, it is like wildly different, and that instantly justified my ownership of this grinder with the Flatmax because it was. It's two different, very similar presentations, but they're drastically different. They happen at very different parts of your palate. But I also think this has some of the best workflow. In any of these 98 to 100 big grinders, this is a very physically large grinder, but it's very easy to use. DF83, though, honestly, is like similar in the how easy it is to use.
Cumbersome,
But yeah, you got the puffer here.
Yeah, that's
but
nice.
Are we out of brew?
Okay, yeah. So
let's talk about this
about
brew.
7 minutes.
7 minute long brew. Okay, 1 to 18 ratio, high extraction, long contact time.
I think I would have used different papers. I was think that's why I asked if we would do V60.
You use different paper?
Already, I'm missing it. Not getting the coffee that I thought I was brewing.
Maybe so that's the thing. When you're brewing, paper filters matter, unfortunately.
Yeah, brewing's different though. This is my first brew on it. I mean, there's still body. It's round. It's juicy. It's clean. But I'm not getting any of the
there's not a lot of
specific
the
qualities.
acidity
Yeah,
in it.
yeah.
But also, first brew of stuff.
Amazing.
The cup
Amazing.
of it, the cup
but
of it is
the
good?
brew, not so much.
And we have to dial in the brew.
The dial in on the brew is something.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that exciting? Now that our
Now that
cup's
these are really cooled down, let's take these all again. So, I'm only getting like, well, okay, let me taste this one and then let's talk.
No, tell me what you taste, because this.
Oh,
yeah.
So this is what I'm tasting here. I'm gonna get one flavor note. I get the predominant, like there's a red berry in here.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Yeah.
I actually quite like the cleanliness. I think the cleanliness of this
So
cup is
clean.
like so clean.
Out of control.
But because it's so clean, I lose out on the stuff that makes the coffee fun.
Yeah.
Like the dynamics,
Yeah.
the layering.
Yeah.
But I understand like, oh yeah, there is supposed to be acidity in this. I just can't exactly pinpoint what that's supposed to
Yeah.
be.
The texture is completely lost there.
Oops.
Same coffee.
Same coffee. Yeah.
So yeah, between the Ode and, you know, your one here, I mean, obviously the one is giving me the most clarity and all of those layers to the coffee. This just has like a little bit of a dusty, fuzzy back end to it.
Yeah, so this is my complaint with
Yeah.
MPs is
Yeah.
that finish. That thing at the end,
Yeah.
it's literally little roughness on my tongue.
Right.
In brewing, that gets emphasized a lot, in my opinion. So that's why I dislike these burrs, personally speaking.
Yeah. Interesting.
Because also from a brewing perspective, unless it's like I have to be using at least coffees of your caliber. I have to that you're roasting. I have to whip out all the different tools.
Yeah.
I have to like think a lot more when I'm brewing coffees. The burrs, the dial space is very small in my opinion.
Yeah.
This, even though this brew is like, you know, like if you quote unquote messed up with this, it would be a lot more painful.
Yeah.
This at least is in my opinion, at least this cup that we're tasting is actually passable.
This is very good. I haven't been to a cafe out here that gives me a coffee this good.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, and
And
also
this is just like a brew.
like I do wish there was more acidity in
Amazing.
there, but like you could have just, you know, this is like a messed up dial and it still tastes good. So that's the nice thing about this is your lows should be at least that good,
very
right?
good. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a first time guess. You know, guess brew. You know, guess at the parameters brew, and it's still very good quality. I mean, it's a very good cup of coffee.
There's a characteristic with the 01 and a lot of the Option O stuff. There is a characteristic sweetness at the end.
Yeah, it's that tint. It's just got like this kind of. It's almost like white sugar demerara. You know, sugar profile. I don't know what it is, but it.
Yeah, so it makes, because like generally
It's
speaking,
recognizable.
right? So like when I'm tasting coffees, usually what I dislike the most is I can detect it most in the finish.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, is it rough? Is it bitter? Is it like, you know, ashy feeling in the finish? This covers up. There's that tint. It covers up some of it, but it kind of can save you in that sense too. If you know, oh, I don't have the greatest brew, but it's like I don't think most people are going to turn down sweet coffee. That's like that's the thought right there, at least. All right, let me catch up on the chat here. What mistake did you make with the 18-to-1 too slow papers? Yeah, I think our papers were a little slow. We probably could have ground it finer.
Yeah, I agree.
Somebody says hello, Preston.
Hi. I'm streaming with Brian Kwan right now.
Yeah, but hey, you guys gotta pick up some of these coffees if you haven't. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go over. Let me go over some of these.
Yeah.
So this is the coffee we're brewing today. Here,
It's gone.
it's gone. It's really good.
Yeah, it was very good.
This is, you still have some of this?
Yes, yeah. So, yeah, we were going to talk about subscriptions, but this was, I think this is interesting because, you know, I'm also looking for a grinder as a roaster to do something to cup with and to brew with. So when I do pop-ups, whenever that happens, I want to have a grinder that can do both for me, right? Something that I can cup and say, okay, that's telling me what the roast is like as well as what the coffee is like without missing anything. Granted, different brews might help this.
Yeah.
And I've been doing it on this, which it gets the job done. But we're looking for something that, you know, can help me curate coffees like this one, which I do have, Servio Bottina's.
Yeah, guys, pick this
Pink
coffee
Bourbon.
up. If
Yeah,
you,
it's fantastic.
I'm gonna link it in the chat, but this is. Oh, someone said very excited for Juan Pena and the mystery coffee.
Oh, mystery coffee is very good. Just cupped it today. I cupped it blind today, and it threw me off a little bit. I could not pin it down, but I also had other coffees of a similar.
I was
nature
brewing this coffee
on the table
the other day. The Servio, I brewed it 2 days ago, and it is such an expressive coffee. Still tastes more Kenyan than a lot of Kenyan coffees.
Honestly, don't let the pink bourbon part fool you, right? This coffee is so
pick this one up.
uniquely sweet, tart, dynamic. I think the complexity to it, is just really, really interesting. The acidity is bright and refreshing, but it also just gives you a satisfying round berry quality.
Oh, you picked the Servio too? Yeah, brew that Servio. We got that's. I think I don't want to dox him, but he's local. This guy's a local guy.
Okay, cool. Well, this would be probably what I tasted my number one from Copa de Oro. He was number 6. We were just talking about competition coffees and how, the group decides on what's number one, and a lot of people in those groups have their favorites, right? If I were in that group, along with Liam and other people, we would probably say, hey, this is probably our favorite. But one that hit number 2 was Herman's coffee.
Oh yeah, this is just the chat. Is there a reason why you're focusing more on filter coffee these days rather than espresso? I'm in the same boat and haven't made espresso in weeks.
Are they asking you?
They're asking me.
I mean, that,
yeah. You don't even. Is there even an espresso machine here?
John trials it on the what's that La Marzocco?
Linea Mini.
Yeah, the Linea Mini.
I don't do as much espresso anymore nowadays because I think it's kind of like these burrs where there's like something just covering it up. Like personally speaking, I'm in the camp now. Although I do quite enjoy a 1 espresso out of all of these burrs, 4 espresso specifically. I think this makes espresso interesting to me. The thing that is interesting to me is like the presentation of espresso. But for me nowadays, I should actually just cup more, but I want to taste what is the coffee supposed to taste like? I don't necessarily want to taste so much of the medium of the coffee.
Right.
And that's really what happens when you start hitting those higher pressures. Things literally become more muddied. I do like mouthfeel, I do like the texture, I do love the dynamics from the brewing medium, but at times I just want to be able to taste the coffee. Plus also, I literally want more liquid. I want more beverage.
Yeah, so there's a practical, and I think I have like a lot of the same comments about espresso. Espresso's a novelty. It's been a traditional thing for a while now, as well as filter coffee. But what you're getting with espresso is a very, very difficult brewing method to do well and to clearly represent what a coffee is like. Crema is the non-dissolved solids, and you get a lot of crema coming out of that. Non-filter brew method, high pressure is kind of just an insane thing.
Hard to taste.
Yeah, so hard to taste. If you have a coffee like this, I mean, Herman Pena would be amazing as espresso, but you're not going to get the nuance out of an espresso.
Or it's like you can, but you have to spend a hell of a lot of money and a lot of time. It's very hard.
Yeah, even for like somebody like me who's been making espresso professionally for many years, you'd probably go through a few shots.
Oh yeah. I waste half the bag just trying to dial in.
Yeah. So I'd say but you're also just not going to get the same amount of clarity and the entire representation of the profile from an espresso as you would a filter brew. So I find filter brew more interesting, but I do love an espresso. I honestly just miss the service aspect of doing espresso and hanging out. Like I want to do a bar right out here and just serve coffee. And espresso is great for that as far as like an institution goes, but it's a whole other set of equipment, right? You can buy one of these that can do both, but you generally, when you're doing espresso, you want to have that grinder dialed.
Yeah.
You know.
If I'm getting consistent fruit peel / pith, like fruit pith, okay, astringency in the finish from Ode and SSP MP, is that my fault or is that life with SSP MP? I think that's the SSP MP. Personally, like after tasting a lot of MP cups, I think that's what's there. I mean, that's what we're tasting here. At the end, there's
pithiness.
Now, yeah, like, or roughness, like if
it's kind of cloudy, yeah.
Yeah, cloudiness.
Yeah.
You hit, these burrs do extract very fast, so you do hit astringency quite fast. But even now that it's really, really quick, like, we're, I don't know, 20 minutes out now, this has held up really well.
Very good. It's only gotten better. Obviously when you're tasting things hot, you sense the heat, but this has become much, much, much cleaner as it cools down. So, I mean, by all means, if you can afford it. What else you want to talk about? We got some more comments. What do we got? You talk coffee.
We can be on for a little longer, but I just wanted to. Oh, how about let's quickly talk about in case anybody wants to, because what ends up happening is I think a lot of people they put on the stream like in the background, and then they just listen to things. We can talk a little bit about. Yeah, you guys don't need to see our beautiful faces. We could talk a little bit about maybe usage of these.
Yeah.
So far, I mean, flavor profile. I think this is the most interesting, or like I like this one the most. It is, the most expensive. Is it that much more better? No, not like in terms of price. 500 versus $3,000. Is this 6 times better in terms of flavor? No. But what I do think is worthwhile mentioning is it's like that 6x price increase. It's like the ownership and the living with this and dealing with this. That is where I think you will see, if you wanted to justify it, you're not going to justify it based on performance alone. It's the rest of the stuff. That's why it's more expensive. That's my opinion, at least. This guy. So I'm just going to go over the build real quick. I think this is built the nicest.
Great build.
I mean, it feels it. That's something like when you get to this price point, that's what you start to care about. At least for me, as I'm like, how do the buttons feel? How does it feel to touch stuff? The tactility. There's cars going on, driving by fast. Last time we streamed here, definitely. Someone was like the screaming children so excited about the mystery coffee. What coffee should I scoop up from Flower Child? I want the roaster's rec. Okay, what is the roaster's rec of your coffees, of your own coffees?
Oh, yeah.
What do you like the most right now?
Well, I'd buy all the coffees that I want. But I would say Herman Pena and Servio Bottino's coffees right now are most interesting and fantastic.
Does he deliver to the UK?
Shipping prices are crazy. I don't know how to get them down internationally for y'all, but you could DM me on Instagram.
We'll work something out.
We'll work something out, yeah.
Yeah, but currently of all of your coffees, my favorite is the Servio.
Thank you.
I think this coffee is fucking amazing, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, for me, I like loudness. I like expressiveness in coffee. Yeah. I do think like if I were to rank like what is better, I do think the Juan Peña is a little better than this coffee.
Interesting.
But this is more interesting.
Why would you say this is better?
Oh, I mean the Juan Peña.
Oh, the Juan Peña?
Juan Peña. Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, the Juan Peña. I think it's a little, yeah.
Herman Pena is good too. I mean, I would say, like you've got saturated sweetness here, deep red berry flavors, even almost like purple red, velvety mouthfeel. And this is just going to give you a really complex structure, an overall intense acidity, but at times a really rounded, juicy mouthfeel. Good night. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
it's just great work by him.
It's just very interesting to drink.
Yeah,
every sip that I drink,
exactly.
I'm like, what is happening?
Good or bad brew is pretty interesting.
So I would really recommend you guys pick these up. Pick this coffee up if you go to the website. You still have some of this coffee left, right?
Direct buy through the website really helps this company live. Wholesale's killing me.
Yeah, we're gonna probably shoot a video after the stream, just really quick, talking about Prestin's subscription. So I don't know if any of you guys are on his sub right now, but I think the subscription approach is a little bit different than a lot of other roasters.
Yeah, we're building it. Yeah.
I mean, it's a one-man shop, man.
It's a one-man thing, but we're gonna try to build it for y'all.
Yeah. Are you changing names?
Yes, we are changing names. It's been about 2 years for me trying to figure out what name to use, and I still do not know what name to use. But it's a trademark thing, and so...
Take some suggestions from the chat.
Please, yeah, like send them in. I've got a whiteboard full of ridiculous names that are probably already trademarked. But the more names, the better. As out there as you want it to be.
Yeah. Are any of these, are there bird? Okay, so yeah, this is all, I haven't done anything to this 01. Like if you spend this much money, I don't want to have to open the grinder. I don't want to have to, buy it and have to modify it.
Right.
So this is just out of the box experience right here.
Yeah.
DF83V is actually not aligned, or unless you aligned it.
I did not align.
Okay.
Yeah.
All we did was we stuck the burrs in, and
It's like perfectly
yeah,
aligned.
we just torqued it down to the correct specs, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
But this is
so
like clean.
good.
You're not seeing like weirdness because of misalignment.
I just wish it was different burrs.
Yeah. The grinder is good.
Yeah, the grinder is cool.
Grinder is good. Burr set, maybe if you wanted to drop $300 to $400, you can buy SSP MPs or HUs.
So for like an HU in there.
Yeah, so for like $1,000, like that's pretty good. Even at $1,000 for what you're getting, it's pretty good.
I think it's awesome.
This already has always been punching above its weight ever since release. It's just like there are variances on burr carriers and so on and so forth. Like a lot of people ask the question, why would I spend $2,000 just to put the same burrs in it? And there are finicky burrs like 64 MPs where I will say if you have something like a P64 or a Zerno with 64 MPs, I actually think it will taste better.
Yeah.
Will it be perceivably better? Hard to tell unless you literally have them side by side. But
their alignment's probably better.
yeah, their alignment is most definitely better.
So yeah, if you taste coffee enough, you'll know.
Current name is Fire. Oh.
Thank you. It's trademarked.
Unfortunately. But yeah, we Googling flower child does not work well, LOL. Yeah, so that's why we gotta swap the name out. But yeah, we'll have Prestin on. We'll do more live streams. I mean, we kind of went on at a very obscure time of the day, so the fact that there are people on is pretty good.
Yeah, it's amazing. Thanks for hanging out with us. This is fun. I needed to do this anyway. So
yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, but I'm gonna let Prestin play with this. So maybe the flavor notes on the bag for however many weeks they're gonna be better.
They're gonna get weird. They're gonna go way out there.
So yeah, I'm gonna be shooting a video with right after this. We're just gonna shoot a video on coffee subs. I just love talking about those very intricate things with coffee businesses, like how do you build a coffee subscription? How do you build loyalty among customers? And all those types of things. We're gonna shoot a video on that right after this, so you'll see that on the channel in probably a bit of time. And yeah, but I don't know. I just wanted to taste some grinders and support Prestin, show off some of these coffees, let him play with some of the toys. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Appreciate the questions, everyone. It's really
I just bought the Servio. Love you, dude.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a great coffee. You'll be very impressed by it. So yeah, feel free to check out the rest of the VOD, and then in the description you can go to Prestin's website, his Instagram, and all of that. But yeah, just wanted to show off some stuff, do a little fun tasting.
Yeah, this is great.
It's grinders, it's gear, but we have some great coffees to pair with it. And it's very interesting to also hear that first impression of this grinder. My I'm now don't need to cope with having bought this stuff. I'm getting validation. Okay. All right, guys. We'll catch you guys later. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
All right.
Right on.
Oops. Let me end it.